When we were together on Tuesday, it was reminded that there's a sublime reason for beginning the meditation with may all beings be happy, peaceful and blissful. And that is because those three, happiness, peace and bliss, represent the three levels of mind or existence, that nitty-gritty level of cause and effect and karma, that level of the occult that embraces all of the dimensions, and that level of undifferentiated energy where it all comes together in interrelatedness. And this is because we know and experience that when those three come together, we are in a state of Sat Chit Ananda, or existence, knowledge and bliss, united together. Have you ever noticed the rituals in your life? Making a cup of tea. You take down the kettle, you get out the tea caddy, you boil the water. You're going out into the garden and you put out your boots. You take your gardening gloves and you put on your hat. You're going out for a bike ride and you put on your riding clothes. You check the tires. The rituals that represent the coming together of those aspects of existence, to put us in a state of presence, alignment and oneness. Satchitananda. But we also know that there is something beyond this. Can we abide in that state that transcends the movements of life represented by those three levels of mind? Yes, we can. How do we do this? This is our next endeavor, to explore this state that's been given names of nirvana, transcendence, and so forth. It's a state of selflessness, abiding in life with its movements, in a state of stillness, perpetual stillness. But how do we do this when the movement of life and the experiences continually beset us? Movement is constant, unceasing. How do we bring them together in the moments of life, so that the moments are no longer moments? There are several little stories that maybe allow us to embark on this new endeavor. The first is a Sufi story about the great mystic Behau'ddin. And one day he had a visitor, and he was inspired to take out a manuscript that he'd written, and he showed it to his visitor. And his visitor, scanning the lines, said, "Oh, here is a word that is misspelt." And Behau'ddin said, "Oh, please correct it for me." So the word was erased, and the spelling of the visitor was replaced. But after the visitor had gone, one of the followers of Behau'ddin said to him, "Why did you do that? Because you knew that the word that was replaced was correct and that the replacement was indeed incorrect." "Oh," said Behau'ddin, "the reason for this is that this man was not a student of mind. He was merely seeking attention. So I allowed him to have that attention and allowed him to flaunt his knowledge in a way that brought him some satisfaction. But if he had been a student of mind, where there was the relationship of teacher and student, my actions would have been very different." And then there's a Zen story about the great Zen Master Chow Chow. And one day, the governor of the province came to visit Chow Chow. And Chow Chow remained on his pallet bed and greeted the governor in that state. But rather than be affronted, the governor was even more respectful of Chow Chow. But the next day, the governor sent his general with a gift for Chow Chow. And when the messenger general arrived, Chow Chow arose from his bed and went out to the gates of the monastery to accept the gift. Now, when the messenger general had departed, Chow Chow's students said to him, "Master, why did you greet the governor in your bed and the general at the monastery gate?" And Chow Chow responded, "The superior beings I will greet in my natural state, with my natural face. Ordinary beings I will greet in the reception hall. Inferior guests I will greet at the monastery gate with the usual courtesies." And a third story, different in content, yet related, is the story of the Dervish who noticed that his neighbor every evening at the same time came out of his door on his way to the tavern. Now the Dervish was affronted by this, considering the man a sinner. So he decided to teach him a lesson. So each day at the same time as his neighbor came out of his door, he would sit outside his own door, and looking scathingly at his neighbor, would place a rock. The pile of rocks grew, and every day when his neighbor passed, he would look at the dervish and feel great remorse and sorrow. If only I could be like this dervish, so moral, so abstemious. And on the way back, even in his drunken state, he would look at the dervish and the pile of stones and say, would that I could be like him. But then a great calamity fell upon that society, and both the dervish and his neighbor found themselves taken in death to the celestial realms. The neighbor came first, and he was greeted by the judging angel, who said to him, "Come, come, the gates of the celestial realms are open for you." And this neighbor said, "No, you're mistaken. It must be the dervish. He was the one who was good and pious and abstemious, not me." "No, no, no," said the guardian. "He must go down to the depths of those realms where punishment is given. Come, enter the gates." How do these stories relate to the how of how we can live in that place that is beyond the thrall of the levels of existence, whilst living, participating fully and wholly in life? How? How do these stories perhaps help us to comprehend, recognize those qualities, that awareness, that presence, that stillness allows us to know and abide and live fully?